All right, just a quick little video here about this x and y intercepts. X and y intercepts, all they are is the x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis, and the y-intercept is the graph where it crosses the y-axis. So if I look at this, the x-intercept right here crosses at 1, 2, 3. So this will be the x-intercept. So the x-intercept will be at negative 1, 2, 3, and its y value would be 0. So the x-intercept is negative 3, 0. The y-intercept is where it would cross the y line. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The y-intercept would be crossed at a y value of 4. Since it's a y value, it goes second. There it is. So you have two sets of parentheses. So all it is the point where it crosses the x-axis for the x-intercept, the point where it crosses the y-axis. So there's two different points. There it is. Okay. The x-intercept is also referred to as it could be called a solution. It could be called a 0, or it could be called a ordered pair or a factor, or there's lots of things we can refer to this as, but most of the time we'll say 0 or solution to an equation. Okay, but when we look at x-intercepts and y-intercepts, all we're looking at is we're looking for the point where we want to find where it crosses that axis. Okay, so don't make it super hard when we look at this. What we want to kind of do is we kind of want to know at least the point where they cross, and then you're going to list that as a single point. Okay, now sometimes what kids do is they write it down as one point, so just watch out for that, because you want to make sure that they cross in two separate locations. Okay, all right, so when we look at this, it's very easy to find an x and a y-intercept. So to find an x-intercept, you're going to set y equal to 0 and solve for x. To find a y-intercept, you're going to set x equal to 0 and solve for y. Okay. So if we're going to find the x and y-intercepts for this equation right here, so the x-intercept and the y-intercept, you're going to take y equals negative 2x. Here's the equation, plus 5. You're going to take y equals negative 2x plus 5. And we're going to put x in for 0 in for 1 x and 0 in for 1 for y. Okay, so to find the x-intercept, you want to find what x is, so we're going to put 0 in for y, and then you're going to solve that problem. In fact, we already know the answer is something, comma, 0, so here is your y value, so we're going to solve that. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. And we're going to get negative 5 equals negative 2x. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. Divided by negative 2. Divided by negative 2. Two negatives make a positive. So my x-intercept is 5 halves. You can write it as 5 halves. You can change it to a decimal if you want. But there's your x-intercept. That's where it crosses the x-axis. Okay. The y-intercept, to find the y-intercept, we put 0 in for x because we want to find y. So don't get rid of y. We want to try to find y. So put 0 in for x. So we already know the answer. I do. Yep. I put 0 in for x. I got to find my y value. This one's pretty easy because 0 times 2 is 0. And 0 plus 5 is 5. So my y-intercept's value is 5. And then we just graph those as an ordered pair. As you guys will see on this right here, right underneath it, you're just going to graph them. Okay. So in the directions, let me zoom out a little bit so you guys can see that. It says, find the x and y-intercept of each equation, then graph the equation using the intercepts. So we know how to graph this. Remember, this is the y-intercept and this is the slope. Kids, this is in slope-intercept form. So if you wanted to graph it, then you already know where the slope is. The slope is 5. You already know it should be called the slope y-intercept form because there's your intercept. It's going to cross at -1 and it's going to go up 5 over 1. But maybe you're not good with graphing it that way. So another way to find this or to graph things like this is to find an x and y intercept. X and y intercepts are very easy because you're working with a number that's very easy to work with, and that's 0. Okay, so in order to graph this, what we're going to do is we're going to find the x-intercept and we're going to find the y-intercept. Okay, so it's just another method of graphing that we already know how to do. To find the x-intercept, take the equation and put 0 in for y. To find the y-intercept, take the equation and put 0 in for x. These are going to be a point. We already know the point. The x-intercept is going to be something comma 0. The y-intercept, since we're putting a number in for x and that number is 0, it's going to be 0 comma something. We just need to figure out what that value is. Okay, so let's do the math on that real quick. So we're going to add 1. We're going to add 1. So what am I going to get? I'm going to get 1 equals 5x because opposites cancel. And then I'm going to divide that by 5. Okay, so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to divide both sides by 5. Let me grab this, divide by 5, divide by 5. Does 5 and 1 divide nicely? They do not, so I'm going to get 1/5 as a fraction. And then you're going to graph this. This is going to be a single point. You already know where it goes. It's the x-intercept, so it's going to go on the x-axis. That's the whole idea of this. Let's go find the y-intercept, and then we'll go plot those points, and then we'll be done. Okay? The y-intercept is very easy because you already know it's -1, but let's do the math. 5 times 0 is 0, and 0 minus 1 is -1, so the y value is -1. This is your point. Where does that point cross? This is going to cross the y-axis. So this is just going to be a second method of graphing a line you already know how to graph. Okay? So since we're using x and y intercepts, I'm going to highlight the x and y axis. I'm going to plot those points, and then we're going to be done. Okay. The y-intercept is 0, -1. Where is the dot 0, -1? 0, -1 is directly down. So I just graphed 0, -1 and right there. Crosses the y line at that spot. The x-axis. Some kids are going to hate this because they have to graph a fraction. Kids, all I need you to do is estimate where 1/5 is. It's positive. A positive x value goes to the right, so we need to move to the right 1/5. Is 1/5 a really big number or a small number? Well, 1/5, 5 over 5 is 1. This is 1 over 5, which isn't even 1. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the graph and you're going to move to the right barely any at all. And it's going to be right there. Okay, looks pretty close to me. Are you okay with it? Because I am. And we're going to cross those. There's the x and y intercept. I graphed them without using the slope because I used 2 points on a line. That's the whole idea of that. Okay, so when you guys look at that, the rest of them, same kind of idea. They just want you to graph it, find the x and y intercepts. Okay. Now, where do the x and y intercepts come in handy? Where they really come in handy is if I look on the back really quick. They really come in handy when it's a problem that looks like number 7. Okay. Where I would say, let's just go right into finding x and y intercepts. In fact, for me, graphing x and y intercepts on this problem is much easier than putting it into slope-intercept form and graphing it. Because I know to find the x value, I'm going to put 0 in for y. After you guys get good with this, when you put 0 in here, so I'm going to put 0 in for y to find the x-intercept. How do we find the y-intercept? You're going to put 0 in for x. It makes it real nice and easy because 0 times anything is 0. So this whole piece disappears. You know what 0 times anything is. It doesn't matter if it's a fraction or a whole number. 0 times anything is 0. So that just chunks out of there and gets to the gone. How do we get rid of a fraction? I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So I get 5x equals 12. I'm going to divide by 5. I'm going to divide by 5. Does 5 go into 12 nicely? Nope. So here's your x-intercept. You know your y value is 0. You know your x value is 12/5. Can you graph 12/5 without getting nervous? I can. You can too. Because how many times does 5 go into 12? Goes in there twice. Because if this was a 10, I'd know that would be twice. It goes in 2 and a little bit more. So if I were to graph this x-intercept, I'm going to go to the right 2, not quite 3, and I'm not going to go up or down any. So here's my graph. So I'm going to go to the right 2, not 3, a little bit more than 2, and there's my first dot. This dot is the x-intercept. Makes it much easier than putting that into slope-intercept form in this scenario. Now, let's go finish that. Let's go find the y-intercept. 0 times anything, that's gone. So I get 5 over 6y equals 6. These numbers are ugly, but it's okay. I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. 6 times 6 is 36. Opposites cancel. So I get 5y equals 36. We're going to divide by 5. Divide by 5. Does 5 go into 36 nicely? It does not. So what did I put in for x? I put 0 in for x. What did I get back for y? 36 over 5. So let's go graph this. This dot is the y-intercept. Okay. How many times does 5 go into 36? Well, let's see. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 8 is 40. So somewhere between 7 and 8. So don't go left or right any, but you're going to go up 7 and a little bit more because 36/5 is a little bit more than 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me recount that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a little bit more. There it is. I got my 2 dots. I'm super happy with that. Hopefully, if my mathematics is correct, everything looks all right. I'm going to connect those. We're going to go from there, and I've got my graph, and there is your y-intercept. Okay? All right. Hopefully that works for you. If not, let me know. Talk to you guys later. Bye.